How are we doing, guys? And welcome back to 𝐅𝐎𝐻𝐃𝐃. It's the second opposition preview of the season. It is Southampton versus Leeds, and this is your usual opposition preview. We have got a man you might recognise, you should recognise now. I think it's the hat-trick of appearances on 𝐅𝐻𝐃𝐃. Might actually be more, actually. Is it
something like that?
Three or four appearances now.
Yeah.
It is Saints fan Dan. First and foremost, mate, thanks so much for coming on. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, from a personal perspective, I'm great. From a football perspective, not so great after the weekend. Obviously, we've got lots to talk about, and yeah, we'll see how Saturday goes, I guess.
Obviously, disappointing first result for you guys. I guess at Tottenham, you can kind of accept it a little bit at Tottenham, but with a worrying sign from that game, having obviously only seen highlights of the game just to build a general idea of what Southampton are about this season, it seemed very open to me. It seemed to be a team that was not fully committed to pressing, looked a bit disjointed, and even going forward was lacking a little bit of idea. I mean, is it a worrying time for Saints fans?
Yeah, I think it is. There was a lot of optimism kind of midway through the summer based on how many transfers we had made, but based on Saturday, I think that we never expected anything from Tottenham. They've made some great signings. They look brilliant. They've got Conte, first full season with him. No one was expecting anything from the game. However, it was the man of the defeat and the fact that bad habits were coming back once again. I cannot remember how long now. It's gone beyond, 2-3 years of us throwing away points from winning positions. That's another habit that still seems we haven't broken yet. Individual errors, that Salisu own goal probably summarizes the whole game for us. So from that perspective, it was a real disappointment just to see the same bad habits that kind of contributed to our downfall last season and the season before in the second half of both those seasons come to fruition again on Saturday. Now, the only positive we can take really from it is all three signings that made their debuts looked quite good. Bazunu, okay, he shipped 4 goals, but I think he's going to be a future number one for a long time. Romeo Lavia, for me, was our best player, at 18, making his Premier League debut. And then Joe Aribo had a bit of life up front. I think it's the system as well. Yeah, it was a disappointment. But the problem we have now is we've got this game in Leeds on Saturday where on paper it's our most winnable fixture for quite a while. And right now, I don't think many fans are confident that we will take 3 points from this.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, let's talk a little bit. Obviously, you've mentioned about the signings there. People like Aribo, Lavia, who we're obviously looking at ourselves. A lot of decent signings, and the centre back whose name has escaped me, who didn't actually play on Saturday, did he? His name's completely escaped me. He is signed.
Bella Kotchap.
That's the one. Again, all kind of like football manager type signings. If you're aware of the game, anyone watching it, but they all look like good signings on paper, albeit very inexperienced. It ultimately feels to me like an outside looking in. It's a pressure on Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Oh, for sure. He ended the season. I mean, it's hard to really.
Last time we spoke, I mean, it wasn't even that long ago. I think April. When we last played you. I mean, you still very much were behind Ralph at that point. Obviously, a lot's kind of changed since then. I know football, a lot can change very quickly, but it seems like the general vibe among Saints fans needs to have changed quite drastically over the last sort of couple of months.
Yeah, I think when we played you guys back in April, we were kind of in the middle of what turned out to be a horrific end to the season. We weren't winning football matches at that point. We were getting beaten quite heavily, and to be honest, taking a point away from home was quite a good result, even though Leeds were struggling at the time. It's hard to justify the kind of percentage as to who's Ralph in and who's out, but it's looking 50-50 right now, if not more out than in, which is a shame because he's done so well for the club. From, generally speaking, he's a nice guy as well. But, nice guys, it doesn't matter if you're a nice guy kind of thing. And now we're at a point where, like I say, bad habits haven't been broken. We've had the whole summer to fix things. It's been great that we've been backed with the new ownership in terms of bringing in plenty of new players, but the identity that the kind of journey the club wants to make with their signings, kind of under 20 million young players, and most of these young players haven't really been proven at all in the Premier League. So it's a risk. Like I say, some of these players look great. Lavia was brilliant on Saturday, and that was his first start as an 18-year-old. But yeah, there's risk. There's risk, and Ralph is going to need a good start to the season, which on paper he's not going to have given the fixtures. So it's a real tricky one. We've actually got our fans forum tonight as at the time of recording. So to see what is said there will be really interesting, because I don't think he's been in front of the fans for over a year now. I don't think since COVID ended, he's been put in front of the fans. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he has to say there. But he's a man in danger, definitely.
Interesting. And obviously, you guys went with a 5 at the back against Tottenham, like a 5-3-1-1 kind of system, like Joe Aribo was just playing behind Adam Armstrong. And do you see the same again, Dan? So I get the vibe that you kind of, in pre-season, you seem to have changed this back 5 quite a lot, or certainly changed from a back 4, or do you see it going back to a back 4, the 4-4-2 that we're kind of used to under Ralph Hasenhüttl?
I mean, from me speaking personally, I'd rather see the back 4. As much as we were poor defensively on Saturday, I still felt there wasn't enough going forward. This is the other frustration, is the fact that we're kind of experimenting with a new system, been back and forth through pre-season, when you're kind of trying to implement the new ideas, and it still looks like it's very raw in the mindsets of the players. So it kind of feels like pre-season's almost been wasted, if that makes sense. So for me, I don't see why we wouldn't be going back to, what's worked quite well for us, generally speaking, throughout Hasenhüttl's tenure. But if he's trying to instill a new identity, and he's been proven to be incredibly stubborn throughout his, almost 4 years at the club now. So I would expect a back 5 again, which is a bit negative. At home, first home game of the season against the side on paper we'll be looking to be beating if we are going to stay in the league this year. That's no disrespect to Leeds, it's just how it is. So yeah, again, that's it. I think if that lineup comes out on Saturday at 2:00 and it's a back 5, I don't think fans are going to be happy.
I mean, the way I look at it, whenever we do play a team where the manager's not the most popular guy in the world, coming into the game, it just always feels to me like you've got to start the game well as the away side. From a Leeds point of view, we've got to start the game well. I mean, can you see it turning a little bit toxic if Leeds, did get an early goal, or did, make a decent start to the game, get a couple of shots off, really ask questions of Bazunu in goal? I mean, can you see it getting a little bit on the toxic side?
Yeah, I definitely. I think, it's a shame that we have to admit that, but we're a fickle fan base anyway, even when it's going well. So with it, going badly, I can't see anything but kind of fans getting restless. We're going to need that first goal. We're going to need that first goal because I think that's just going to settle the fans. I think fans will be going into it quite nervous, knowing that already with, 1 game into the season, this is game 2, and already it kind of feels like a big one. Players need to prove themselves. Ralph needs to prove that if we are going to stick with this system through this season, that it is going to work, that it has been implemented into the players. So yeah, I think if Leeds take the lead, especially early on, I think that will make it will definitely make it a bit of a restless atmosphere. I think Leeds go 2-0 up. That's when it's going to start being a toxic atmosphere.
Interesting. But obviously, in terms of Southampton, the first player I always think of is James Ward-Prowse. To be totally honest, it is always. I'm sure everyone says that to you, James Ward-Prowse. But anyone else who we need to be especially wary of on Saturday, potentially, Dan, who could really cause us problems? I mean, Che Adams is a bit of a discussion point, because obviously we know in terms of Leeds United, we are after a striker at this moment in time. Callum Mwendo, who we were initially linked to, looks like he's going to go to Rennes from PSG. So it feels like potentially Che Adams may well become the #1 target. I mean, just before we go on to the stand-up players, so I do want to get, this is quite a big one to talk about. For starters, Dan, do you want to see Che Adams leave?
No.
Second question, do you think he will leave?
No to both, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think, I don't know if you've seen, but there's reports from the Athletic today saying that Everton are now interested in a loan to buy option. Where any of this has come from, I just don't know. I think, from what I understand, the club are willing to let him go if the right offer would come in, talking plus 20 million, and then use that money to buy another striker. But to be honest, you ask any fan, they'll be saying they need to be spending 20 plus million on a striker as well as having Adams. You know, for me, he is currently our best striker. You know, not that we've got many, but he is by far our best striker. You know, Adam Armstrong had a really difficult first season at Southampton. Had a good pre-season, but looked isolated against Spurs in that new system. So, yeah, I'd be saying keep Shea without a shadow of a doubt. And I can't see him going personally. I think this has all come out of the blue, and I'd like to think, you know, this is the optimist side of me. I'd like to think that the board know that selling him will shoot themselves in the foot. You know, there's going to be a certain amount of time,
especially to like a potentially a rival.
Well, you look at the teams that have been linked with him: Everton, Nottingham Forest, and Leeds. Those are three teams that, on paper, you think right now are probably going to be in and around Southampton. You know, if you're basing off of last season, obviously Leeds and Everton finished below Saints, and Forest got promoted. So you look at those three sides, and by selling Shea to any of those three teams, we're weakening ourselves and strengthening our rivals. It just seems too ludicrous for it to be, you know, legitimate, if that makes sense. I just can't see it happening. You know, obviously I'm not in the boardroom 24/7. You know, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Maybe they've got a £30 million striker on, you know, ready to come if they are going to have to raise the funds through by selling Shea Adams. But personally, I don't see it. So I think they'd be shooting themselves in the foot.
I mean, is there any chance that Shea Adams will be involved on Saturday, do you think? Obviously, he was on the bench against Tottenham. I mean, surely now you'd think, having not really offered much going forward, still playing relatively a 5-3-2 system, you'd think with that you'd want as many strikers as possible to play as a two up top in the two up top system. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, having heard what you said there, Dan, if Shea Adams starts. And I'll be honest, as a Leeds fan looking at it, I would much rather Shea Adams didn't start. You know, I'd be quite happy if Shea Adams isn't starting the game. You know, if you start with Aribo's a good player, Adam Armstrong we know a lot about from the Championship, but Shea Adams, there's something, he's got a great record against Leeds. He always seems to be absolutely on it against us. Yeah, there's something about Shea Adams, especially when you're struggling a little bit, that he just has that little fire in his belly that can really drag you out of a tricky situation. I mean, can you see it? Can you see him starting?
Yeah, of course I can see him starting. I mean, based off of Saturday, I don't think he will start. Like I said, going back to Hasenhüttl being quite a stubborn manager, you know, I think everyone was baffled by the fact that Shea, first of all, was on the bench, and second of all, didn't even come on when we got 5 substitutions now. That was what baffled everybody. With Joe Aribo, he looks great. Personally, I'm really impressed with that signing. I think he looks great. Bit of a breath of fresh air, given that he's 26 as well, so plenty of football still to play, but a bit more of an experienced figure based off of who we've brought in. But he's not a striker. I think everyone will tell you from Rangers, everyone will tell you from what we've seen so far, he's not a striker. He said himself he feels more comfortable sat behind a front two or a sole striker, you know, more of a number 10 wide position, which is also why it's so ludicrous, the whole back five situation, because he would suit a 4-2-2 perfectly. So for me, based off of Ralph's previous kind of habits, I think Shea probably will be on the bench again. Something's happened there. I think something behind the scenes must have happened, because there is no logical reason explaining why Adam Armstrong started on Saturday up front by himself, only other than the fact that, yes, he had a good pre-season, but Shea scored so many more goals. You know, he's our best striker. Personally, I didn't understand it, you know. So I hope he starts. Obviously, I hope he starts. We're going to need him to start. We're going to need our best players from minute one. But yeah, there's a weird feeling with Shea Adams right now, especially with all these reports coming out.
As I say, though, and many Leeds fans who are watching this will say, I'm always uneasy about, you know, a player when supposedly they're unsettled, supposedly things aren't going so well, and they always seem to perform well against us. We've had similar situations in the past, you know, where we've had players linked to us, nothing's really come of it, and then they scored against us the next game, they play against us. It's just the way things are. Numerous examples of that over the years. So it does make me a bit nervous, mate. It does make me a bit nervous. And I still will say, even if Che Adams is unsettled, I do think Southampton are a better team for having him in the side. Before we finish, let's get a quick prediction from you, mate. What are you thinking ahead of Saturday, Southampton versus Leeds, prediction-wise?
I mean, I think it can go plenty of ways, to be honest with you. I think because we're so early in the season, obviously Leeds got off to a great start on Saturday. Personally, from what I've seen, it doesn't sound like Wolves are too well equipped. So it'll be good to see how they fare against a side like Saints away from home. I'm going to go for a draw. I think it's going to be a close game. I think, you know, there's going to be moments where it's a bit nervy for us. You know, Leeds, I think they've had a good window. They've got some good forward players now. And like you say, you know, both sides seem to be quite poor at the back. So we could have a goal fest. But I'm going to say 1-1. I'm going to say 1-1. At the moment, I'm kind of drained of confidence in the sense that we're going to go away and get a comfortable win here. Obviously, I'd love us to. We're going to need to, really, if we're kind of thinking that we're going to make a good start to the season, go on and have a better campaign than last year. But right now, I don't really see it. I think you're playing it as a good time. I think you're playing it as a good time where we're still working out on new ideas. We've got new players being integrated, and I think it's just going to take a bit of time for us to settle. So I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, because obviously Saints over the last couple of years, certainly last season, have been quite historically slow starters, and then really the middle of the season it seems to be where you really pick things up. And obviously last season we kind of played in that kind of middle region. But just before we do sign off, is there any Leeds players you are fearing on Saturday that you're thinking, oh wow, I'm not looking forward to seeing them play against us?
Well, Ismail Assar potentially.
We'll see. I'm hoping that might come over the line.
We'll see. But I think Bamford. I think a fully fit Patrick Bamford is scary for any Premier League defence. Really, we saw it in Leeds' first season back when it was all behind closed doors. I think Bamford scored in both games against us and was kind of the focal point. Really, of course, there's no Rafinha to deal with now, so we'll see how the new signings and the replacements in bed. Obviously, is it Johnson Aarons? I can't remember the American lad's name. The one from
Brendan Aronson.
Aronson, that's it. Obviously, he's got a goal already, so that's good start for him. So he'll be one to look for. But for me, Patrick Bamford, when I think Leeds, is always the most dangerous player when he's fully fit.
It's interesting. Always like to get the opposition thoughts on that in terms of who you fear the most and that lot, as you know. But I'm sure it's going to be a really good game. I do think it is going to be a really good game. I think it's high press versus a high press. Hopefully, it is another decent game between ourselves, and let's see what the result is. I'm the same as you, mate. I'm not going to be too surprised whatever the result is. I think we're still learning ourselves as a team, but we'll wait and see. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't done already, and hit the subscribe button as well at the same time. I will, of course, leave Dan's social media in the link as well. So if you want to follow Dan as well, please do. But thanks so much for watching, guys, and we will see you later. See you later, guys.